Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. It's me again, Shannon Fox here, Devoted Patriots 2 channel. I've got several clips here I wanted to bring to y'all today, and a couple of things I wanted to fact check this lady in the pink on, just like JD Vance does as well. I'm talking about some statements directly from Trump's Truth Social. Got a few other things as well, including a great clip from a couple of people over here on X that you definitely need to see. Definitely some informative stuff. And as we have so much infighting going on with the left right now, trying to figure out what they're going to do to get Kamala in and maybe Joe out, or who they're going to replace who with, they don't know. They're still scrambling. There's been a word as to what's happening on the inside, and I'll give you breaking news on that here directly. So let's first get off into just a little bit of a long clip of J.D. Vance getting ambushed and interrogated by this crazy NBC host.
For being here. I want to talk to you about the immunity ruling and the implications. This is what Donald Trump said last year about wanting to target his political opponents. Take a listen.
I will appoint a real special prosecutor to go after the most corrupt president in the history of the United States of America, Joe Biden, and the entire Biden crime family.
Senator, if former President Trump were to win, if you were to be his vice president, would you support him appointing a special prosecutor to go after his political enemies, the Bidens?
Well, first of all, Kristen, I find it interesting how much the media and the Democrats have lost their mind over this particular quote. Donald Trump is talking about appointing a special prosecutor to investigate Joe Biden for wrongdoing. Joe Biden has done exactly that for the last few years and has done far more in addition to that to engage in a campaign of lawfare against his political opposition. I think what Donald Trump is simply saying is we ought to investigate the prior administration. There are obviously many instances of wrongdoing. The House Oversight Committee has identified a number of corrupt business transactions that may or may not be criminal. Of course, you have to investigate to find out. So I think Donald Trump saying, look, let's do the basic work of investigating wrongdoing is a totally reasonable thing for him to do. And frankly, the Biden administration has done far worse. So if you think that what Donald Trump is proposing is a threat to democracy, isn't what Biden has already done a massive threat to our system of law and government?
Senator, just to be very clear, though, Joe Biden didn't appoint a special prosecutor. The attorney general did that. Trump was indicted by grand juries. He was found guilty by a jury of his peers in New York. But can we just go back to the core question here? Would you support him taking such an action? It sounds like you're saying, yes, you would.
I would absolutely support investigating prior wrongdoing by our government. Absolutely. That's what you have to have in a system of law and order, Kristen. But I have to reject the premise here. Joe Biden appointed the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, who, of course, answers to Joe Biden, can be fired by Joe Biden. So the idea that the Biden administration has nothing to do with the appointment of the special prosecutor, I think, completely betrays a misunderstanding of how our system of government actually works. And of course, Kristen, we have to make this point, Kristen, that the prosecution of Donald Trump in New York, which I think now is fundamentally been thrown in doubt by this immunity case, it was one of the main guys was a Department of Justice official in the Biden administration who jumped ship to join a local prosecutor's office to go after Donald Trump.
And yet the DOJ...
He's talking about Michael Colangelo, who went from working in Washington, D.C., took a downgrade in pay position to go work for a local court on a federal level in order to prosecute Trump. That's exactly what happened. And that's been called out more than once, and she is still denying it like she doesn't know anything about it. She was following this court case as well as any of us. She's a liar and a phony.
That doesn't make you question the legitimacy of the prosecution. That's a problem.
Well, Senator, that happens all the time. People are appointed from Washington, but the DOJ told Congress, testified this week that it reviewed
it happens.
Hold on, Senator,
He's fixing to call her out. This happens all the time is what she says. You believe that shit? This does not happen all the time. And he's fixing to let her know. She is playing this ask shitty questions game that make Trump look bad. Whether you answer the question or not, you look like you're being ambushed and attacked, and she's trying to make you out to be the bad guy, just with the way that her rhetoric comes out in the form of a question.
Really saying, Kristen,
Senator,
it happens all the time.
I'll let you finish. Hold on.
The number.
Let me just finish this. The DOJ told Congress this week it reviewed all communications since Biden took office and found no contact between federal prosecutors and those involved with that case in New York.
So the DOJ investigated themselves and realized that they weren't the ones that had anything to do with Biden having anything to do with the referral. So they looked at themselves and decided that there is no collusion here between the White House, the Department of Justice, and Michael Colangelo and Jack Smith. So they figured all this out. Come on, man.
Can you stick to the substance of the question, though? Let me just ask, because I just want to stick with this line of theory that you are laying out, which is you are saying it's not okay for Joe Biden to weaponize the Justice Department. If it's not okay for Joe Biden to weaponize the Justice Department, as you say, which there's no evidence of that, why is it okay for Donald Trump to do that?
No evidence.
Well, Kristen, first of all, you said that it happens all the time, that the number 3 person in the Department of Justice jumps ship to join a local prosecutor's office to go after the president's political opponent. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of American democracy, and I don't think that we should legitimize it. Now, if Donald Trump's attorney general had his number 2 or his number 3 jump ship to a local prosecutor's office in Ohio or Wisconsin, and that person then went after Donald Trump's political opposition, that's a different conversation.
Senator,
all he's suggesting is that we should investigate credible arguments of wrongdoing. That's all that Donald Trump is saying. That is not a threat to democracy.
If they're not guilty of anything, why would they be worried about investigations?
That's merely reinforcing our system of law and government.
Bottom line, you are okay with Donald Trump appointing a special prosecutor to go after his political enemies, which would include Joe Biden. You're just, to button that up, it sounds like you're saying yes. Let me move on, though, to my next question. I want to talk to you about the Heritage Foundation.
She put words in his mouth. And here she's fixing to mention what I really want to talk about, which I've got a little more video clips about as well. The Heritage Foundation adopted something called Project 25, and this is not Trump's policies. There's a lot of things in this Heritage Foundation Project 25 agenda that involves policies that Trump supports. But there's also policies in it that Trump doesn't support, including their harsh stance on abortion. They're basically saying there is no exceptions for abortion. And the Heritage Foundation, which is not a bad organization, but is a think tank, come out of Washington, probably has a lot of rhinos that help run that so-called conservative think tank. And they put out basically like a manifesto of what they want for America in 2025. Trump's got his own agenda. It's called Agenda 47. That's the real agenda. But these left-wing nuts are trying to say that Trump is part of this Project 25, and all the things included in this Project 25 are Trump's policies. Well, that's not true, and I'm glad to see J.D. Vance defend Trump on it. And if you stick around, you'll see Trump defends himself on it as well. The Heritage Foundation, which is not a bad foundation, does have some ideas that Trump doesn't approve of, and so you don't get to tie Trump to this. Because they support Trump doesn't necessarily mean that Trump supports every one of their policies. So Trump's message is not Project 25. For anybody that's listening to the mainstream media, it's called Agenda 47. You can look it up on Trump's Truth Social. You can look it up here on YouTube on Trump's channel. But let's get back into it. Here she goes.
Foundation. It's a conservative think tank in Washington. It shapes the agenda they would like to see in a Trump second term. The president said this after the Supreme Court's ruling this week. Take a look.
We're in the process of taking this country back. No one in the audience should be despairing. No one should be discouraged. We ought to be really encouraged by what happened yesterday. We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
Do you support those calls for...
Before she gets into her question, that guy wasn't calling for violence, and that's the way she's going to placate this conversation. What he was saying was, it looks like Trump's going to win, and we will have a peaceful election as long as these left-wing loonies don't start burning down our streets, don't start burning down our business, don't start rioting in the streets, don't start destroying property, because there's a lot of crazy factions out there that support the left. There may be a couple out there that support Trumpists too. I don't know about the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. I don't know much about them. But I do believe that these guys in khakis that are wearing face masks are not Trump supporters. That's what I do believe. I believe they're a false flag. There's a lot of false flags going to be coming out in the next several months, and a lot of it's going to be racially motivated stuff in order to try to pull people away from the Trump camp, including this Project 25 BS. Let's go ahead and get into it.
A revolution, and would political violence ever be justified?
Well, of course, political violence is never justified, Kristen. You'll have to ask the president of the Heritage Foundation to defend his remarks if you'd like to do that. I will say, look, the Heritage Foundation does a lot of good work. It does a lot of things that I disagree with, a lot of things that I agree with. But the Heritage Foundation is a nonprofit organization that works on public policy, and I think it's an important part of how D.C. functions and operates. We'll continue to have important conversations in the Republican Party with a whole host of think tanks from the right and from the left as we craft public policy. That's the way the city works. And again, I'm not going to be the person who serves as the spokesperson for the Heritage Foundation. I don't have any affiliation.
Sounds like you're distancing yourself from those comments that talk of political violence.
Look, Kristen, I certainly don't think political violence is justified. That's certainly actually not what I think that Kevin Roberts was saying to begin with. But again, have him on your program to defend what he said, and I think that's the best thing to do.
Let me ask you specifically about Project 2025 for our viewers so that they know. It's basically a policy blueprint for a second Trump presidency. It's supported by the Heritage Foundation and other conservative groups. The Biden campaign has said Project 25, quote, should scare every single American. It would give Trump limitless power over our daily lives. Among the things they are calling for is reversing approval of the abortion pill, mifepristone. But Donald Trump says he supports access to that pill, actually. Do you support access to abortion medication as Donald Trump does?
More important than the answer to that question, she just answered her own question. She said Donald Trump supports this day after drug, this day after abortion pill. But this group, Heritage Foundation, Project 25, does not. So she has already proven her point that the Heritage Foundation's Project 25 and Trump's policies don't match on every level. Some of the policies are probably the same, but some things Trump doesn't agree with. And I got a little clip that I'll show you after this. Proves that right out of Trump, right from Truth Social, Trump's account. Now she does try to get him in a couple more loaded questions. We're going to jump on down to where what she asked every single conservative that comes on her channel. Ask them about the old election. Will you accept the results?
Know if that happened, but we'll let the media know if I ever get that call. But most importantly, Kristen, we're just trying to work to elect Donald Trump. Whoever his vice president is, he's got a lot of good people he could choose from. It's the policies that worked and the leadership style that worked for the American people. I think we have to bring that back to the White House, and I'm fighting to try to do that.
Well, here we are about a week before the Republican convention. Before I let you go, can you say unequivocally here and now that you will accept the results of the 2024 election no matter what they are?
So long as it's a free and fair election, Kristen, of course we will. We will use constitutional processes to challenge issues if we think there are issues. But if it's a free and fair election, we will do what the Constitution requires. We will respect the results, and I expect those results are going to be to re-elect Donald Trump.
It was a free and fair election in 2020. Donald Trump took his concerns to court. He lost in court, but he still has not conceded. Do you understand that when you refuse to commit unequivocally, that feeds into people's concerns, skepticism about the nation's electoral process?
We should be concerned. We should be skeptical. It's our vote.
Well, Kristen, I don't agree with that, actually. I think that feeding into people's concerns about our electoral process is that one half of America's political segment, they won't support legislation that makes it harder for illegal aliens to vote. They won't support universal voter ID in our elections, even though you have to present ID to do almost anything in this country. I think taking people's concerns seriously about election fraud is the way to reinforce security and confidence in our elections.
Yeah, Senator, it's already against the law for non-citizens to vote. But just on that very point, when others refuse to say, yes, we will accept the election results. Do you understand how that undermines people's confidence in the electoral system?
Well, what this girl really needs to be asking herself is, why are Democrats and NGOs and Medicaid offices and all of these swing states and border states registering illegals to vote, offering them the opportunity to register to vote? Answer that question. That's the real question she should be asking somebody. Enough of that. We see how the rest of this is going to go. She doesn't give him a chance, but if you contest elections, you are the devil. On MSNBC, Meet the Press. No doubt about it, folks. Now, I've got a couple more things I want to bring to y'all, including what Trump had to say about this whole Project 2025 thing. What it is, it says, I know nothing about Project 2025. I have the idea who is behind it. I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything, anything they do, anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them. Donald Trump, Truth Social, 2 days ago. That says enough for me right there. He says, it ain't me. It ain't me. Now, everybody knows the Biden administration is freaking out over if they're going to replace Joe, if Nancy's able to control the Congress, if Obama's going to get his way, are they going to push Joe out? I think there was an original push to get Joe out, and then I think it backfired. And then now I think the damage control cleanup on aisle 9 is not good enough. Every interview they've had since the debate has been not much better. And so now the infighting among the Congress is really freaking them out, because it's not so much that they're worried Joe can't win, because they don't see that happening anyway, but Joe's going to make them look a fool, not just in the election in 2024, where a lot of them are going to be reelected or kicked to the curb, but in 2026, whoever's running the country will have a lot of them most likely primaried. And if it's Joe Biden, by some freak chance, they're still going to lose seats, and they know it. So Joe's a lose-lose deal for the senators and the House of Representatives that are coming up for re-election on the Democrat side, and they know it, and they don't know what to do about it. So between Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi's hold on the Senate or on the House, the infighting among at least 25 senators, Democrat senators that have come out and said they want Biden to step down. They are now sending formal letters. There's going to be meetings Monday at the White House, and I heard there's even been a dementia doctor come in over the weekend. They're trying to figure this out. I'm going to read you a little bit about it, but there was one part that was really, I thought was really great to hear. This is the desperation from the Democrats regarding Joe Biden is going into overdrive, and a final answer regarding his political future could come this week with the push on one particular influential individual. Axios on Sunday dropped an explosive report that the fast-growing number of Democrats are begging and plotting an intervention as Dementia Joe refuses to quit the presidential race. They want everyone from the Obamas to the congressional leaders to persuade Biden to drop out by Friday. Top Democrats want Biden out by then because they hope that they will endorse Kamala Harris as his successor and help ward off all out brawl towards at the Democratic convention in Chicago for the nomination. Because if they don't swap him out quick enough and they decide to do it at the convention, there will be a scramble for deciding who's going to be his next in line. And I don't believe it'll be Kamala. And then they still got to figure out who Kamala Harris's vice president would be if that's the case. Now, I heard it was 25 Democrats in the Senate, but listen to this statistic right here. It says the shit is going to hit the fan on Monday when Congress returns. A House Democrat told Axios people are scared about their own races, but they're also worried about the country and about democracy. Maybe some of these Democrats are worried we're going to get attacked by one of our foreign nations at the rate we're going, because now the whole world knows how bad Joe's slipping. So several House members are reportedly close to speaking out against publicly and signing letters against Biden, telling him to just give up. According to the outlet, these conversations will heat up this week. Let me scroll down a little more. There was something else I want to read to y'all here. Says indeed, Sunday Washington Post revealed that the advisor of two big moneyed Dem donors is saying that for every 10 people who think Biden should exit, one thinks he should stay. Ooh, there's the real number, folks. The story also notes that the people who are publicly vouching for Biden at the behest of the White House and campaign privately say there's no path. He's not. He can't get out. That's why they're backing him, is because they don't see another path forward, because nobody is as popular as Biden in the Democrat Party. That's a win for us, folks. That's a great win. You believe that? There's nobody in the Democrat Party more popular than Biden. What does that say for their team? Ouch. The news is also breaking through the outside the Beltway bubble. One swing state national lawmaker told Axios that the only thing constituents wanted to discuss during the monthly forum, generally focused on local issues, was Biden's age. Alrighty, folks, I got a little bit more for you here. If you like the meme, you give me a thumbs up. All right, here we go. Last video. It's a good one.
Americans are struggling in Biden's economy, but Biden's ignoring our problems.
Our economy is strong as hell.
He keeps denying reality. Is it dishonesty or dementia? Utility bills are going up. Electricity costs have risen 25% under Biden, and food prices are skyrocketing. Biden's weak, he's failed, and he's dishonest. We had more in our pockets when Trump was president. Make America great again.
Do you miss me yet?
Yes, we do. No doubt about it. I hope I don't catch a copyright strike behind that, folks. I just thought I'd share that anyway. Like, subscribe, and share. Devoted Patriots. Tell me what you think about that video clip there. Somebody else put it together over here on TikTok, but I found it over here on X. Have a great evening, and don't forget to comment and thumbs up.